What's up, guys? It's Anderson 977 here today to do Akame Got Killed episode 4 review. Now, in this episode of Akame Got Killed, a lot of interesting things were revealed and a lot of interesting things happened. First, we see Tatsumi training with the guy that wears the Imperial armor, right? And that was cool to see. That was pretty interesting. We see him training, and he's telling Tatsumi that he needs to get rid of his unnecessary movements, and he will last twice as long, etc., etc. But what's even more important is when they finally meet up with the boss, and we get an explanation of the Imperial Weapons, right? What they're all about and their strengths and weaknesses. Now, apparently, it so happens that there's 48 of these Imperial Weapons, and 1,000 years ago, when the emperor was ruling at that time, he decided that he wanted to let his land, let his empire last forever, even long after his own death. So he came up with the idea of making these Imperial Weapons. Each of them are forged from the materials of highly dangerous strong beasts, and materials from rare metals, etc., etc. So these are the highest quality of weapons and materials that go into making these weapons, which is very interesting. And we get a set number 48 of them, so that's quite a few. And it's revealed that 500 years ago, when there was a war or something like that, a couple of them were lost or went out of the imperial capital. So that's also interesting. So that means that there's more of them out there in the not under the control of imperial city as it is expected to be. So then we also get a further explanation of the imperial weapons of each member of Night Raid and what it actually does. And it so happens that there are all very unique weapons. None of them are exactly alike. Akame, she has a very cliche Murasame sword weapon, where one strike and it allows poison to seep into that room that will slowly kill her, which is what I observed in my last episode review of she striking somebody, and then we see these poisons and we see these things coming. We see these marks coming out of that one, where one strike and that's it. She already kills her. So that's a very powerful weapon right there. For the others, the one that I did like was the scissors looking one that the girl with the glasses had. It's also explained that it can be used as a shield, and she can use that to basically chop and cut into anything. I like that one pretty much. That's a pretty OP weapon in my opinion. So that's that. After that point, we get introduced to this guy that was revealed earlier in this episode, of liking to behead people, which is Zank the Executioner, also known as Kui Kui Zank as in the Japanese tongue. So as far as Zank is concerned, he was initially employed by the Imperial Army to behead people, and then after beheading people so long for so many years, finally got to his head, and he became kind of crazy and mad from it. And it was from that sickness, that madness, that he goes around trying to be a psychopath, killing all these people, just wanting to behead everybody. And the imperial weapon that he has is that third eye looking thing, right on his forehead, that he uses to make images, to read your movements. It's a very interesting weapon, and I like it pretty much. And we see him decide from the get-go that he wants to face against Tatsumi, and we see him use a member of Sayo to lure Tatsumi out, and upon luring Tatsumi out, Akame realized that he was no longer there, and then him, Zank and Tatsumi begin to face off. But what is interesting to note is that at the end of their encounter, even though Tatsumi was already injured with these strikes from Zank, because Zank, as stated by Akame herself, that he's a real professional. He's not like the other opponents that they've shown were faced earlier in this series so far. He's a real professional. And towards the end of their bout, right, when Tatsumi was fighting him. Tatsumi was getting better, and Tatsumi actually laid a hit on him, and Tatsumi surprised him in the fact that than Tatsumi moved faster than was really expected of him. So that shows you that, that shows you Tatsumi's real resolve. It shows you his real drive, and it shows you just how promising or his potential will be in this group, Night Raid. And it's even hinted later on that he will, in fact, maybe eventually at some point in the story have an Imperial weapon himself. Who knows? We'll see how that plays out. But upon him going down, Akame shows up, and upon Akame shows up, even for Akame, she stated that they were even a match because he's able to read her movements, so he's able to block, all the time, right? Not even laying a scratch on himself, because one scratch is all you need, and that's it, right? So they face off in that sense, and then he decides to show her. Well, at first he tries to do a kind of meditation like technique where she tries to empty her mind so that he won't be able to read her movement, but he still read her muscle movements, and from those muscle movements he was still able to pick up her movements and still predict what she was going to do. And then also, after that didn't work, after that failed, he decided to use the imaging illusionary illusion technique that he used on Tatsumi. He used that on Akame and showed her an image of the one most precious to her. But the funny thing is, upon showing Akame that image, the most unlikeliest thing that he would expect happen, Akame in fact got violent and decided to attack him instead, because he showed her the one that she loved the most, which was this other girl that looks like is her sister or some relative, right? But it's hinted that she's no longer alive, and Akame straight up went and attacked straight for that girl. Like, she didn't care, and we see her giving off this ominous, cutthroat, serious vibe, which isn't expected, and Zank was shocked by that. But it was actually at that point, right, when Zank showed her that image, and then she got the resolve, or the hatred feels strike Zank weapons. Upon her striking Zank weapons, that weapon got broke. That weapon, it got fractured, and it was that fracturing that eventually allowed her to break through those weapons that he was using as a shield and to slice him straight across the throat. So that fight, to me, in my opinion, was a very good fight. I liked it very much. It showcased Akame's abilities, and it gives you a little introduction into her backstory, and the things that happened in her past and what type of person she really actually is. But towards the end of this episode, when Tatsumi was visiting the grave of Sayo and his other friend, she basically said that there are certain things in her past that she doesn't necessarily want to talk about now, but the time will come and she wants to let Tatsumi know that she does care about him and everyone in that grave. So that's very reassuring from her, and I'm sure she has her reasons why that's the case, for the memory of that girl in her past. But as I said, eventually we will see how things play out further on in this series. But so far, I thought it was a very good episode of Akame Ga Kill. I liked it pretty much. So that's it. That's my review. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Sayonara.